An Atlanta landlord was so frustrated by the bureaucratic delays and bureaucratic nightmare caused by the local housing authority that they decided they would rather evict all of the Section 8 tenants from their apartments. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over, once again, the topic of Section 8. Now, obviously, I am a Section 8 landlord. I do have tenants within my units that are Section 8, okay? But I understand why landlords decide they don't want to have to deal with the program. It's a nightmare in a lot of places, okay? They make you jump through all these hoops. They make you do inspections. They make you fix things that may or may not actually need to be repaired. And, you know, there's delays in when you get paid. It just is a nightmare. And not only that, but some of the tenants are not the highest quality tenants available for your unit. And right now, with the housing shortage and the way things work, you can get excellent tenants, you know, that are not Section 8 and not have to deal with any of that. Okay? So I understand why a lot of landlords are just saying no to the program. Well, one of those landlords is in Atlanta, Georgia, and you know, they're a larger landlord, and they decided they were going to buy this apartment building this year, and the apartment already had some Section 8 tenants in it. Now, when they decided, you know, they were going to buy the building, they wanted to participate in the Section 8 program. And the only problem was, you know, all of the hoops that they had to jump through. And the bureaucratic nightmare was so bad for them that they said they're just not going to do it. They gave up and have decided instead to just end the leases of all the Section 8 tenants that were within the building. It's really a, you know, crazy story, but it goes to show you that, hey, all of the bureaucracy, all of the rules, all of the ridiculousness of these programs is the real reason why landlords aren't wanting to participate. So before I get into the article, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Not just about the situation, but, you know, the other day I was at the airport, you know, for work, and I actually ran into someone who recognized me for, you know, this channel, and I just wanted to give a shout out to her. Her name is Jill Pruitt, and I got a picture with her. I'll throw it up on the screen. And, you know, basically it was great to talk to somebody who really appreciated this channel and, you know, the information that I'm working to bring about real estate, about what being a landlord is like across the entire country. So, you know, if you do ever happen to see me on the street, feel free to walk up to me, and, you know, it'll make my day. I really do appreciate everyone who watches this channel, okay? Anyway, this article is coming from AtlantaCivicCircle.org, and it says, "Snafu between Atlanta Housing, Beltline Landlord jeopardizes Section 8 renters' housing." And let's get into it. A months-long back and forth between Atlanta's Public Housing Authority and a luxury apartment landlord has imperiled the housing stability of several low-income renters living in increasingly expensive Old Fourth Ward, according to documents obtained by Atlanta Civic Circle through the Georgia Open Records Act. When real estate investor Carter Haston, headquartered in Nashville, bought the edge on the Beltline apartment complex in January from another investor, the Ohio-based Connor Group, the Section 8 rent voucher agreements that have allowed 6 tenants to live in the high-rent building fell into bureaucratic limbo. So yeah, this landlord, you know, it says here that they just bought this building in January, right? They're a little bit larger landlord, and, you know, this is a luxury apartment building where they do accept Section 8 tenants. And apparently there were 6 Section 8 tenants who were living in the building at the time they bought it. And, you know, bureaucracy is the cause of most of the problems that landlords deal with. And that was the case in this story as well. Carter Haston and Atlanta Housing have bickered for months over completing the required paperwork for the new owner to continue edge on the Beltline's participation in AH's, and that's Atlanta Housing's, Section 8 program. It's still unclear whether the deal could be salvaged. That's still to be determined, Carter Haston asset manager Zachary Mitchell told Atlanta Civic Circle on Wednesday. Right now, it's 50-50. Anita Bird, an Atlanta housing portfolio administrator, emailed Carter Haston in early February seeking paperwork that would allow Edge's new owner to continue the federal housing choice voucher program. Participation from the Connor Group records show. So yeah, when I bought my property that has Section 8 tenants, right, it actually already had the Section 8 tenants in them. So I had to fill out paperwork for the Kansas City Housing Authority and then get myself approved to be to receive those funds, those Section 8 funds, right? Because there's certain rules about who can actually be a landlord and receive Section 8 payments. Like it can't be a immediate family member for the tenant, and because they're afraid of corruption, kickbacks, etc. So I filled out all the paperwork and jumped through all the hoops, and it still took them. I believe it took them about 6 weeks before I got approved, and then got my rent check, and they actually owed me two months worth of rent at that point. What followed was an increasingly tense email volley between Atlanta Housing and Carter Haston that has left some of the Edge's most marginalized residents concerned that they will lose their apartments at the high-end, Beltline straddling development. In April, Carter Haston asked Atlanta Housing to help both itself and the residents using Section 8 vouchers to navigate reapplying for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, a requirement when a property changes hands, but to no avail. So what it sounds like here is the new landlord, right? All of the old tenants that were in there that were Section 8 before, they had to reapply, and the new landlord had to apply as well. So this landlord reached out to the housing authority and said, hey, help us get through this process, right? But the housing authority, the local housing authority in Atlanta, did not want to help them. And that is where all these problems are coming from, right? They're like, hey, you figure it out. And we're like, hey, do you want these people to lose their homes? We're willing to rent to them if you continue to send us the money for them. But hey, we need your help. And they're like, no, we don't want to help. It's typical, government, like they will sit there and be like, oh, well, we don't want people to lose their houses, but we're not going to help you. Yeah, we're not going to help you either. And, this is the ridiculousness of when you're dealing with bureaucracy, right? This is why a lot of landlords don't even want to deal with it. They just say to themselves, hey, we're not even going to participate. I don't want to deal with Section 8. I don't want to deal with these local housing authorities because, they don't help. They don't, if we miss something, they will get mad. And even this luxury apartment building, which is probably in excellent shape, would probably not pass the inspection in every way and force them to fix crap. It's ridiculous, honestly. On June 6th, Edge community manager Jennifer Reeves Inthasane told Atlanta Housing in an email, our owners are considering canceling the program. Bird at Atlanta Housing responded a few hours later saying she was deeply saddened to hear Carter Haston might stop participating in the voucher program. Edge's landlord sent lease termination notices to the 6 Section 8 tenants on June 15th, telling them they need to move out by August 31st. For a few weeks, Carter Haston's staff desperately tried to reach Atlanta Housing officials via phone and email with no luck, according to a June 21st email Reeves Inthasane sent to Atlanta Housing. After radio silence from Atlanta Housing for another week, the Edge community manager followed up on June 28th. This is becoming completely ridiculous. So yeah, for weeks, they tried calling the housing authority. They tried emailing that housing authority, and no response. No response on, hey, we need help getting these applications filled out, making sure that these people don't lose their homes, and making sure that we get paid the money that is owed to us, right? And no response. It's typical, okay? This is why a lot of business owners don't deal with government, because the government, like these government employees, they don't care. Okay, they have no timeline. they don't understand that, hey, our business needs to make its money in order to make a profit, and that's why we jump on things quickly. We get repairs done quickly, etc. Government, on the other hand, right? You have employees there who they don't care how long things take. They don't care, and I know you're probably laughing at me because I have said it before. I work for the government, so I see this kind of stuff. I work for the federal government, and so I see this kind of thing with some people, okay, where they will drag their feet on getting some things done, or there are things where you have to jump through so many hoops that they take forever to get done, right? So I obviously have insider knowledge about this sort of information, and all I can say is, right, don't blame the landlord at the end of the day if they're taking this action now against the tenant, saying, hey, you got to be out by August 31st, because at this point, they've owned the property since January. They haven't received any assistance from this housing authority, and they likely haven't been paid that rent because they won't help them get the process rolling. The same day, Reeves Inthasane notified Byrd that Carter Haston was gearing up to terminate the leases for the Section 8 residents because it had not received payment from Atlanta Housing for its half of their rents since the property changed hands due to the snafu. All the while, the Section 8 renters like Marcus Deed, who moved into Edge in 2019, have been ensnared in the turmoil, unsure of whether they'll be able to keep a roof over their heads. And then, the article goes into, telling the hard luck stories of the tenants. Listen, okay, I understand that, hey, this isn't the tenant's fault. I understand that, right? But my channel is dedicated to landlords. I'm going to read what is, really affecting the landlords in this story. So I'm going to skip down a little bit. And it says that can landlords be forced to take vouchers? Lower income edge tenants like Deed are not the only ones at risk of losing their housing as rents continue to spike in metro Atlanta. Low and moderate income renters all over the city are finding it increasingly difficult to secure an affordable apartment, even with public subsidies like Section 8 vouchers or requirements that landlords set aside a few residences at below market rent in exchange for permission to build more units. When Edge's Section 8 renters first raised concerns that they could be booted in June, Atlanta City Council member Amir Farouki sent Carter Haston a letter accusing Edge's new landlord of violating a city anti-discrimination ordinance that seeks to prohibit landlords from turning away rent voucher holders. However, the city law isn't legally enforceable because it clashes with state law, attorneys who are experts in housing law subsequently told Atlanta Civic Circle in July. So yeah, basically the city of Atlanta had already passed one of these ridiculous laws, the source of income laws or whatever, that says that landlords cannot reject Section 8 tenants. Unfortunately for them, and fortunately for us landlords, the state of Georgia, has a contradictory law, and it trumps the city law. So basically, the city law is null and void, and the landlords don't have to comply with it. Thank goodness, because it's just not fair to say, hey, you have to take these tenants if they don't want to take them, right? So this whole situation, like these landlords, they probably would have been perfectly happy with these Section 8 tenants if they had just been able to get paid, had just received the help that they had requested from the local housing authority, okay? And now we're in a situation where, hey, these tenants, they don't have anywhere to live. The landlord has been missing half of their rent for these 6 tenants for the last 8 months, okay? And it's just bad overall. So I don't blame any landlord who says, hey, I don't want to deal with this sort of ridiculous bureaucracy. I don't want to deal with Section 8, and I'm not putting them in my property.